Okay, I'm not sure what happened to my header. I had a nice header going in the last video, but for some reason it's not showing up now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll work that out later. Anyway, normally I'd come up with that header and then people would be able to see just the Renegade's logo, and then I'd kick in with the live stream. So yesterday I found that I was getting a bit sick and tired of the appearance of the characters in the Paint.net view. Like when I zoomed in, it became very pixelated and hard to read and things like this. So decided that there's no reason for the cards to be so small. I'm going to double the size of the cards. So I just did a test just then, before, and that's the current modification that I've made to the size. That's the original size there, for example, and then this is the modified one. Now, there's a couple of things that I need to point out before we proceed. So, first thing is the alignment. Now, with Microsoft Excel, if I want to do a sum total of, say, the taxes that are payable by a group, the figure 2000, so 20,000, is generated by the modifier, which is the sum of these ones here. Now I'll show you where they are. You can see this highlighted section here. Now this highlighted section here is referring to the rank of the individuals, and if the rank is Grandmaster, Master, Artisan, or Apprentice, it will basically generate a number, and then this sum total here is makes up the modifier. The modifier is used in encounters and things like that in the Geopolitical, and then that's also used as a basis for generating how much tax or rent or their mercenary rate if they're going to hire themselves out as mercenaries. So I'm going to just click on, for example, this cell here, and up in the corner here you can see the calculation. So if error, it's basically searching for the word artisan, and if it comes up with correct that there is artisan in this cell that's now highlighted, then it will basically provide a result of 1. Then this cell beneath it is not doing it. Okay, yes it is, sorry. So this cell here, I separated them by one empty cell. And so in the cell just below it, it also refers to this same cell and asks if it says master. So yeah, so there's no modifier if it's an apprentice. There's a modifier of +1 if it's an artisan, and a modifier of +2 if it's a master. And these are the primary skills that it's going off. So the modifier down here is generated, as I said, by the sum total of all those results. So this one here, for example, this party has 2 artisans and the remainder are apprentices. So their modifier is +2 because there are 2 artisans. Now, a lot of this isn't it might seem unimportant, but I'm using these calculations to generate some information. So the rate that is showing up here is the modifier multiplied by 10,000, and that is that's, as I said, the tax rate per quarter. the rent per quarter, and the mercenary rate per quarter. So with the tax is paid to the baron. In the case of the tournament, it'll be paid to the lord of the faction that they live under. So if they live in a Samurai town, then they're paying their tax to a Samurai lord. Now rent, it comes into it when people start finding title deeds to the villages, hamlets and farms. Just because somebody has the title deed doesn't entitle them to the rent, the tax, but they can be paid rent. So they receive the rent in the form of, in this case, 20,000 silver pieces per quarter, because they hold on to the title deed. So once they find a title deed, it'll go to auction. Then whoever buys the title deed at auction will then be effectively the landowner, the owner of the town, and they're entitled to the rent. The other thing is that I'm making it so that any of these groups, these adventuring parties, can be hired, and the rate that they can be hired at is the same amount, 20,000 per quarter. So that seems to be low. If you were going to hire 5 individuals for 3 months, paying 20,000 is a pretty low rate. But if you consider that there's only 2 artisans, in this case, an artisan herbalist and an artisan first aider, they're not high on, like if you're going into a combat situation. Yes, the first aider will come in handy. The herbalist will hopefully be able to prevent you from walking into a patch of herbs that can be used to create a deadly poison, and so you can hopefully be survivable in the certain cases with these 2 here. Anyway, it's it's the best I can do. It's not perfect, but that's that. Now, just another thing is the alignment. Now, you can see how the alignment of the party number here, this is a ram between number. It randomly generates the number, and then it will be, then that number will be copy and then paste values only, and then it will be fixed in stone. So once the system is underway, then these numbers, these names, I'll just F9 it and show you. So by F9 you can see what modified, what changes. So the alias changes on each of them, and you can see that the party number is also changing. Now the reference, for example, the 2 parts of the alias, the first part, it's referencing a different file, and this is do not move. I put it in the same folder and I don't move it from that folder, so that it's always referencing the same master document. This master document, pretty much has references to a lot of the calculations referring back to that. What else have I changed? I've changed the font to pretty much be Vinterhand. I like Vinterhand, and it's reasonably serviceable, and even if it does pixelate, you can still with letter recognition and word recognition, it seems to be that because of the font, it does seem to aid, in my opinion anyway. Anyway, so this video is going to be about going through and changing every single bloody one of these characters to a two card instead of a single card. The other change I've made is that I've also, you might have seen that the original location for modifier was in the left bottom left corner. I've now put the modifier in the bottom right corner. That way, these cards, if they were printed out, they could be stacked with just the modifier showing. So in a stack of 4 cards, you wouldn't actually have to show the entire card, just the bottom right hand corner, and that way you can quickly calculate what your modifiers are, so that when it comes to these encounters, you've got, you can calculate it quickly. Anyway, moving on. I started at the bottom. I just made a duplicate. I'm going to concentrate on doing the Renegade town to start with. So the Renegade town, I'm going to work from the bottom up and do it that way. So anyway, over here we've got different skills than this one over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly cut that, and I'm going to paste it up here temporarily. Then I'm going to copy all that, and I'm going to paste it here. Now what it's done now is it should be they should be independent of each other. You can now see I just pressed F9, and what's changed is the aliases have changed. So that's good. This shows that this group here and this group here are now independent of each other. And then I'm going to simply go up here, and I'm going to look at, for example, this one here has got 2 masters and then apprentices. So I'm just going to go through and type in master in there, and then using ballistics in there. Now, just by that one thing, changing the 2 there, you can see that down the bottom here, the modifier is increased to +3. So I'm just going to copy and paste that, and you'll see just by that one other change, it's now +4. So that's how some of these calculations are working. Now, using one-handers, using ballistics. Now, you might see that there's little cheats that I can do. So using ballistics, and then it says Jaguar at the moment, and then using one-handers, and that says Lord. Now, if I copy those, and then I paste them, then it shows up initially with the same second part alias. But if I hit F9 again, it then reverts back. So this one here is different from this one, even though I just copied and pasted. The calculation is the random calculation, so that's gone back in. Anyway, so this one here is a herbalist. Okay, so that's the only change that needs to be done there, and you can see that it really doesn't take that long to do some of these modifications. It is a repetitive thing, so yeah, there's not much I can do about some of these repetitive tasks, aside from just simply accepting that I'm just going to have to process through it. But I have realised that I have been I have been doing a lot of stuff in the dark without anybody knowing what I've been doing, and I feel that it's now time to press ahead and show some of this stuff live to inform people about what I've been up to. Now, you might have seen I just copied that entire block, and I've left these ones here. So I can delete this one here now, and then what I'm going to do is change the color here to recognize that this is the different faction. So these are the different factions, as we talked about previously. So I'm using this color to represent, off the top of my head, Caesar 2. So there's the different factions at the start of this game, at the start of the campaign. People will be able to experiment and change things around and maybe create new mashes and all those things. But that will be, yeah, I'm just going to press ahead with what I've created at the moment. And if people want to take something for a spin, then they can. Because I'm not going to do all the work. I'm going to allow people to create content, as I've explained previously, as long as people understand that in order to keep this game from deteriorating, keep people from fighting each other and turning on each other, and all sorts of arguments about intellectual property. It's quite simple. If people want to be involved in Renegades, then they're going to have to accept that, yes, they'll remain the author of the work that they create, but that the work will belong to Renegades, so that if there are any arguments and disputes, the final say is that it belongs to the system, and just because somebody might change their mind about being involved or get upset, they can't throw the drop that bombshell of you can't use my my creation. And the people who are affected the most are the player base, who invest all the energy in creating content for themselves, and getting involved in something, getting enthusiastic, only to find that somebody turns out to want to do a scorched earth policy and take everything with them. And they're quite entitled to do that. I mean, I'm not, I completely understand. It's absolutely fine to have that as your fallback. People who create content without any without giving away their rights to it retain those rights, and that's sometimes the only power that they have. And so, when it comes to people like organisers of events who like to use volunteers for things. Sometimes the only power that the volunteer has is their intellectual property, and any organizer who says to a volunteer, "You don't own that," well, the thing is that it's pretty clear that from other other situations with people taking things to court and proving their case, and basically ending up that the organizer doesn't have as much power as they thought they had, that the owner of the intellectual property is the creator, unless they transfer the ownership of that intellectual property to the organizer. And in so many cases that hasn't happened. Yes, it's been proven to have screwed up a few different international campaigns. So anyway, rambling away. So I'm just copying and I'm just pasting and inserting and doing these things progressively. Now, all I've got to do is keep a track of the ones I've changed and the ones I haven't changed, and make it so at least okay, so we've got, looks like I've originally put in some modifications here. So looks like the sorry about the rolling. Okay, here we go. So Now, if anyone sees any typos and things like this, then I'd be appreciating people to feed that back to me, because I won't catch everything, and I don't really want to have these things come up later on in gameplay. I want to have some, quality control over these things. So, okay, so we can delete that now. And now I just did the, okay, I'm not sure if you guys picked up on that, but the first one here, looks like we've got a few differences that I'll just undo that and see if I can verify. Okay, so we've got maybe I'm worrying too much, but I'll just go to the top. We've got Alchemist, Appraiser, we've got Locksmith, Mathematician, we've got Archaeologist, Counselor. So what concerns me with what I'm doing now is that, yes, I'm trying to make them double, but I don't want to lose some content. So I'm going to change to a different view, new window view, and I'm going to make two of them side by side. So when I've been working on this, I find that having two side by side does make it so much easier for me to navigate around. Alright, so what I'm going to do with this window here is I'm going to go down to the Caesar 2, and I'm going to see what I did there, and then I'm going to try and make sure that I keep the skills the same. So I'm just trying to remember the reasons that I've done certain things. So I've got a range of skills in this, and on the frontier, it makes no sense for there to be certain skill types that are going to have apprentices, artisans, masters, and grandmasters. So there's going to be some random generation, but for the purposes of the people who already live in the frontier, in the frontier areas, they're going to be replicated. So every baron, effectively, when they take over a province, they're going to have the same type of people, with the same skills and things like that. It starts to diversify once and diverge from each other when it comes to revealing the next lot of like every year, more information is going to be revealed about the people in an area, and so over time, Baron's going to find that they have a spread of skills and a spread of backstories and things like this. So now what I'm doing now is I've just accepted that I'm going to have to just replicate from the second screen, and I'm not going to leave these little ones in place. So now effectively, before doing the modification, we've got the 2-card system throughout. Now that's all well and good, but I now need to go through and make sure that they've got the same skills as they used to. So sorry about the rolling. Okay, so now Alchemist. Okay, Alchemist and Appraiser. Now the descriptions of these of what these skills do will be in different manuals, and people can these skills are mostly applicable to the live role playing. Okay, now all right. So the reason I've got them spread out like this is I've got a master alchemist, and I'm making it so the master alchemist has an apprentice alchemist. Same thing with the appraiser. There's a master appraiser and an apprentice appraiser. And then the fifth wheel in the adventuring party I've made up with just a herbalist or a hunter or some other skill. And then so that makes up. So in the towns you've got like a variation, a spread of people. Now, if I wanted to, I'm just may as well show it off now. That skill there can be quite easily randomized. Now, I'll just go to, for example, this one here. Now, okay, I don't think we're going to have much choice, but I'm going to just go to here. I'm going to copy all that, and then I'm going to go back to here where we were before, and I'm going to put in here that calculation. Now, as I F9, you can see how it's changing it around, and so that apprentice. So, okay, in the skill list, I've actually included ones that have both their title and the skill, just so that I can populate some of these cells with both the rank and the skill in the same cell. You might see up here you've got master and then alchemist separated. So I've done that intentionally so that for alignment, yes, I can keep them all down the center. If I do it like this, then if I do it like this, it's not quite working out. Anyway, just going to keep going. So we've got alchemist over here. We've got archaeologist. Now, maybe I should learn to spell. Now, archaeologist. Why are there archaeologists in a live roleplay system? Well, the thing is that for people to try and prove their case as to the cultural aspects of the location. So if they find a location and there's a dispute about the history of the place, if they're searching, if there's an archaeologist part of an adventuring party, then the archaeologist may be able to assist in tracking. So you've got like tracking of creatures, so that's like a hunter who's doing that. An archaeologist can track down. They can hopefully track down fire artifacts and finding objects, and then being able to work out which imperial the influences of the item. So it's like finding a piece of pottery today and then being able to work out from the pottery what culture came from, like where it was made, its age, things like that. So that's where that skill comes in. So it is quite an important one when you do take it, isolate it, and look at it from how you can apply it. And the same with most of these skills, you can try to work out how you can apply them to make it so that it makes sense. So master locksmith. So the difference between, say, thieving and locksmith, well, effectively, it's just a skill base. It's like to prevent somebody from picking a lock, a locksmith being able to design a lock that is able to be counted. So it's effectively a an opposed skill check. So the rank of the locksmith versus the rank of the thief. For example, okay, so I'm just moving forward, moving down the list, and progressing with it. So now may just do this, and then this, and then that way I don't have to enter master again. So you might see I'm typing in first aider and medico and things like this. There's different types of wound, and somebody might be very good at triage, and so first aid is about the immediacy, of preventing someone from bleeding out and things like that, compared to the healing skill, which is about after trying to prevent them from having a permanent injury from it, the actual treatment of the wound, and then you've got medico, which I've made is for the seriously wounded. So first aid can't heal everything. Medicos don't necessarily have the ability to stop, to manage. It's like MASH, being able to process an entire, so if there's a geopolitical group that's out there, and they've all been smashed by something, that a first aider can hopefully keep them alive until they can be healed by other means. Okay, we're just moving down the list, and I may as well, when I'm copying, you see that I'm going into that black there because the calculations do extend into that black area. And if I don't paste correctly, then it's not going to include those calculations. Anyway, I've got to read writer. Where are we? Read writer. Okay, so we got out of the first one here, and now we're into swimmer, runners and swimmers. So runner and swimmer. Now runners. Okay, so in this world you have runners and swimmers. So there's a guild for those things. A runner is effectively like the postie, like a courier, for rapid movement of data around. You have to use a runner to get it from one place to another. They can take satchels, they can do all those things, and if there is the ability to send a bird with a message, but the size of the information pack that they can send is far reduced compared to simply getting a runner. A swimmer, well, we've got areas that instead of putting in a bridge, or instead of having a ferryman, that instead you can have a swimmer who will swim across with your satchel. Okay, so I've now not sure if I've hit a wall. I'm trying to assess what I've done. Now I think that I've worked out what I've done. In the right hand side, the second window, you can see how it progressed from read writer down to runner, down to truthsayer, woodworker, things like this. Now I think that I did a selection of the skills on the left, and on the right they're effectively just like padding, as in duplication and things like that. So that's how I think I've processed the. That's how I think I processed it before. Now I'm going to change things up a little bit, and I think that it'll be for the better. Which is, I'm going to make it so that because this is in a Samrajay township, I'm going to make it so that the diversity remains with the faction. So the faction is Samrajay. So all the Samrajay people, or people who are aligned with Samrajay in this area, are the ones who have the diversity of skills. Now, it's just a simple thing, but I've just noticed that there's a space at the end of people, so I'm removing that space from it so that so the alignment is better. So yeah, I mean, trying to get these things just right. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm doing things a little bit pedantically, but the whole point is that for presentation, and if you're going to do it right first time, blah blah blah. And really, you can see it's not really that hard to change when you've got this many of them. But when you suddenly find that you've got thousands of something, trying to do a modification to the page layout and those kind of things, I mean, you can see this is a daunting process. But the only thing is that hopefully once I've done just the Samrajay town, I'll be able to copy and paste, and then it will populate with the new town. There's also a find replace function that I've been using quite a bit. Anyway, back to where I'm at. So I went from reader, writer, medico, and so that's up here. Then it went down to swimmer and runner. Okay, that's correct. Then it went over to truthsayer. Oh, sorry. So, yep, sorry. Truthsayer. Yeah, so truthsayer, effectively it's like it's not a superpower. Basically, it's a reader, someone who can it's instead of yes, you can swear by Hefner that something's correct, but in terms of interrogation and asking people questions without forcing them to swear by Hefner, a truthsayer can use that. So that's truthsayer. Then we've got woodworker. I mean, I haven't broken the mold of. I mean, you've got lots of different. There's lots of different systems, role-playing systems that have a diversity of skills that, and stereotyping and doing things in a certain way. I'm not just changing things just for the sake of it. I'm trying to make it so that this is unique, but just because I'm wanting it to be unique doesn't mean that I'm trying to overly complicate things. I'm trying to make it so that it's a living, breathing world with its own peculiarities and individuality. So it's not perfect, in terms of like. So what I'm trying to do is create something that is unique and something that now no one can accuse me of plagiarism if I'm doing like unique, individual work. Not really. I really don't care anymore what people think. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing this live stream. I've been working in isolation. I've been hiding my development, and I don't need to do that anymore. Well, I do or don't. The main thing is that I'm not afraid of sharing what I've created with other people, and people can see what I've done. I'm happy with it, to the point where I'm willing to talk about it on a on a live stream. All right. So what I've just realised is, what I've just done. Sorry, is I've made it so that the range of skills is in the in the Samurai faction. So I've completed that, and now it's really just a matter of me going through and working out what changes, what differences there are, and it doesn't look like there is. It looks like they're pretty much the same throughout. So looking at these, I can just go through, and I should be able to just duplicate. So, these are. I'm going to make it so their rank is artisan, and the first one is herbalist, the second one is first. Now it does seem like there's a huge number of first aiders. Well, that's just what they want you to think. The people of Valini are not to be messed with. The thing is, I'm just a little bit sick and tired of some live roleplay games and some fantasy genre that pretty much just make them into nothing but victims. Victims for the adventurers, the hero types. So pretty much that they go in and they go into an area and they and the NPCs that live in the area are like just loot drops, and no, they're just total disrespect for the characters. That they're just NPCs, and that it's a plot device, and that they're there to be exploited. So no, not interested. Not interested in encouraging that kind of attitude. What I want is for people to consider these NPCs as they would extended family. So some of these NPCs will be related to the player character. I'm going to make it so that it's enmeshed, and that people do. The system is designed to protect them. Not that they need protection, because they're hard asses. Alright, so what I've just tried to do there, as Will said with the alignment, is now what I need to do is I need to make it so that this number here is generated by a sum total of all these. Now, that's in BT43, and that's in BT81. So what I'm going to do, BT81, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do this, which is equals sum of this down to, no, okay. Now, you can see that just there, I tried to pull that down, and because it's got there's a merged cell beneath it, it stops. So so I can't just I just can't pull it down, but I can manually get stuck in. And what was that, 81? So if I go to here again and go BT and put in 81, now it's ignoring that merge. So now you can see that's gone to 60,000 instead of it's gone to 60,000 instead of 40,000. So now it is calculating, but that's not enough. What I need to do is also look at this row here and all the way down to the bottom, which is this one here. So I need to do all that and combine it. So now before I do that, I'm just going to do one other thing, which is to make sure that the alignment's correct. So you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to add 4 rows above that. Actually, I'll add another one, just so that the page break is there. Oh, look, it's just that I've been so used to printing this stuff out and finding that I've created problems with the alignment. Yeah, if I can avoid that by putting in some space, I will. Just making sure that I do insert into the right location. You know, there's plenty of things I've made mistakes on, and I don't want to make a mistake by doing that. So right, what we've got here is now looking good. I'm going to cut that and I'm going to paste that down here. Alright, and now I'm going to work out why this is so. Alright, so I'm now, okay, there we are. So now I've adjusted it and changed it from being the cards, in terms of just the alignment, the cards are now made into double cards. Now, what I was talking about before was this here needs to also include a different one as well, which is plus sum of, alright, so plus the sum of, what's this cell here? AE134. AE134 AE134 through to AE. Look, I'm just going to put it as 300. Alright, so putting it as 300, let's work out where it's got to end. It's got to end down here at, was it 344? So may as well go and extend it to 360. So, okay, 360. Now, for those who aren't familiar with Microsoft Excel, what I'm just trying to do is I'm trying to sum up and do summing from different columns. So what you can see is, no, it's not perfect, but BT, and sorry, I'm also not necessarily communicating effectively. So I'm modifying based off what I remember and also based off here. So this row here, when I was talking about the alignment, you can see how it's got this little column here and summing up everything in this column. Now that's the reason why I've staggered the serial number for the party and I've also done the same thing with the modifier and made it so this column here with 40,000 in it is in this row, and then with the row on the left hand side, it's the same thing, but it's isolated to this sort of velvet column here. I'll show it off. There we go. So so when I've just gone up here and just simply typed in a few things, like I've just chucked in, I copied and then I pasted and then I've just changed it to BT. Well, that's because I know that this column here is going to be the same kind of column length. So anyway, blah blah blah. So anyway, I'm going to click enter, and so now we've generated this figure here. So what this means is that whoever is the Baron, or the Lord in the case of the tournament, every quarter the Lord of this town is going to earn 460,000 silver pieces in revenue. Now that revenue is tax revenue. Okay, so that's the Lord who controls the geographical area politically. Then you've got whoever has the title deed to this, and the title deed for this is the same amount. And as you see, I just changed that and made it so that it's reflecting the new value. So while the Lord or the Baron in the case of the live game, and a Lord in the case of the tournament, so they get all the tax revenue from all of the towns, villages, hamlets, and farms that they have political power over. Whoever has the title deed has the rent from every single place that they have the title deed to. So clearly the most powerful financially is the Lord in the case of the tournament, and the Baron in the case of the live campaign. But the Baron can only spend their tax revenue on specific things, whereas any other geopolitical player has a little bit more flexibility, because it's not tax revenue that needs to be accounted for, it's personal income. Anyway, so moving on. Now what I'm going to try and do now is I'm going to try and copy all of that and then modify it to suit the Caesar 2. So I'm going to copy all of that, and then I'm going to paste it just above this line here. Insert copied cells. Okay, and now it's going to come up with an error and another error, and we're going to ignore that error and we're going to move on. So I'm going to change some of these things. So stripping out the map. Now we'll get to those maps. I'm going to be changing all those maps. Now I'm going to do another thing as well. I said I was going to do it before. I'll go back to changing that to there, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to highlight all of that, and I'm going to then go and say replace town 1 with town 2. So replace all, and there's 2 replacements. Now why there's 2 replacements, not sure, but I'll work that out now. Okay, why are there only 2 replacements? Well, because I haven't got one of these down here. So just to explain that a bit better, these little inserts here, I'm putting them in wherever there's a page break, so that, as you can see, I'm still talking about like some of these things that are all based off my problems with printing stuff. And I know that some of this stuff I don't need to think about anymore, but the end user, the end user is any of the licensees who are using this system. So if I send a file, like say for example, somebody finds the title deed to a town in the geopolitical game, well, they're entitled to having, no pun intended, they're entitled to having all this information, effectively a dossier on the people who live in their town. Now, when I say dossier, it's not like the secret police or anything like that. It really just comes down to the fact that there's all the common knowledge that you might assume about a community. That you know that such and such is, used to be the wrestling champion of the province, or you know that such and such, during the war they did some crazy stuff that no one wants to talk about, but that they're recognised as being not to be messed with. Their reputation from the war, blah blah blah. So I'm making it so that as people find out stuff about these NPCs living in that live in a town, it gets added to this dossier. And so anyone who now, what have I done there? Okay, so now that's what I've done. All right, so we've now got this duplication. I've removed the maps. I've now made these all say town 2, town 2. So now we need to go through and make some changes. So I'm going to use the right-hand side column to do my modifications. So firstly, I'm going to cut and paste. Now, cutting and pasting rather than copy and pasting, because I'm wanting to make sure that I strip out everything from it. Now, sorry, I've just stopped talking. I just realised all the things that I've got to do yet. Sometimes I see sometimes I see an error, and I think, oh, hang on, I've got to do that. And it's like sometimes I have these moments of there's so much to do. Okay, so that one there is D378. D378. Alright, so going through again, I just have to do some changes. And as I said previously, I could be doing this work in isolation without anyone seeing what I'm doing, and it would be a pain in the neck, because, well, I would have to try to explain it to people in a different way. I mean, I'm not saying this is the perfect way to explain what I've been up to, but and I know that, you know, as I've admitted, I'm going to ramble, and there's nothing I can do about that. So, all right. So I'm just going to go through and change these to show that it's now the town of Chency, and realize that if I press the mute button, then you don't hear that annoying noise if I make a mistake. Alright, so now what I've got to do is change things a little bit in terms of the color scheme. So what I need to do is change this color scheme to the green color. So this is reflecting the changes in allegiance of the people who are in the area. So I think I explained that before. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the amount of multitasking I can do, but sometimes it's a little bit lacking, and so sometimes I might be quiet, sometimes I might be talking too much crap. I don't really want to fill in the spaces with useless stuff. I'm trying to provide explanations as I go. So anyway, I think that I'm doing all right. So now, just to check, I've just did that copy and paste, and I just want to check that the calculations are correct. So this one here is calculating correctly. So as you can see, I copied and pasted, and the cells that are being tapped from are correct. The only thing I'm not sure about is this one here. I'm just going to extend it down so it fills that cell, and I'm going to then hit the little tick in the box. Just going to check and see if it was actually something that, yep. Okay, so I just got to watch out for little things like that. And look, a lot of these things are because I've made the mistake previously, and I don't want to make the mistake another time. Yet another time. So, right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to double that, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to copy. Oh, this is showing off. No, I'm not going to do it. So what I was going to do just then was I was going to duplicate town 1 and 2 and then rename them town 3 and 4. But let's not do that. Let's just stay on target. And yes, it takes a bit of time, but there's not much we can do about speeding things up. And I think that what I'll do is I'm going to finish off. Well, I'm just going to check the time on it. Now, what are we up to in time? An hour. Well, I need to go and harvest some firewood because we're running out of firewood. Well, anyway, you've seen what I've done, and you don't need me to continue rambling and go through this. I might show how it looks on the paint.net play surface. I might also show off the towns, villages, hamlets and farms maps and the layouts, and then I'll come back to it in another video.